We have got major problems.
What the heck is that?
I don't know if this can be fixed. I think that this needs to be repainted now. And I just paid $600 to have this painted. Well, went and lost my mind again. The dangers of Facebook Marketplace. We gotta start teaching this in schools. It will make you broke. Good morning, everyone. It is a brand new Saturday morning here, and we are once again working on the Trans Am. In the last video, we got the front bumper repaired and repainted and back on the car, repaired the seat, did some interior work, did some free mods to the engine bay, tucked the cruise control module back, and I think we basically declared this thing ready for paint correction, which means up first, it's definitely gonna need a wash. I've never washed this vehicle under my ownership. I picked this car up on New Year's Eve. Trail it at home, basically in winter conditions. It's sat outside in the snow. I've driven it on dirty roads. We need to start from square one with bringing this paint back to life. So this is gonna be a full paint correction video. And even though it's tedious and I sometimes procrastinate doing it, it is always worth it in the end. And I'm so excited, especially for this car being bright red. If you guys recall, on the back side here, this taillight, and actually barely got into the lid here too, the deck lid. I don't know what happened here, but these are like deep scratches or chips or whatever. So, as I described in the last video, I might try and scuff this thing down, adhesion promoter, and then clear coat the whole thing, see if we can kind of repair this taillight. But you know me. In the meantime, figured I'd hop on Facebook Marketplace and see what I could find for deals on taillights, which is hard to find deals on these things because they're so rare and they bring all the money on eBay. But I found some. This first set was locally. Some random guy selling parts out of his shed down the street literally had these. I think he was asking originally like $800. I was like, I'll give you 500. I think we met at like 520, which is basically what he said he paid for them because the junkyard checked eBay prices, but they are basically a mint set of 98 to 02 honeycomb taillights, and the centerpiece there, which has some fading. But I think we could wet sand this off and then completely buff this to a mirror finish. And then some guys like the blacked out look. Other guys just put a decal on top there. Give these a buff. These will be mint. So you're probably asking, how did I end up with this set? Well, I'd messaged some old lady on Facebook who was selling all these parts. And I said, will you sell just the taillight? And she said, no, she wants to keep it all together. And I said, well, okay, how much for all that? She said, we ended up agreeing at $350 shipped to my door for a mint driver's taillight, a complete headlight assembly, and a looks like a driver's side mirror. She's an old lady, so she was kind of slow responding sometimes, so I ended up buying the taillights locally, and then she comes back and sends me a picture of everything all boxed up. She went to FedEx, packaged it all up, taped the box up, and I'm like, you know, at this point, I can't tell this old lady, oh, never mind, I already found a set. So I was like, sure, I'll buy those two. Why not? And I really don't care because, as I mentioned, these taillights are very expensive on eBay. So whatever I don't use, which is probably going to be everything but this taillight, I'm going to put on eBay and I'm going to make my money back and then some. This one looks like it's been tinted almost. I don't know why it's darker. To like someone, it's interesting. I wonder why. Maybe it's just dirty? I don't know. It seems like it's darker. Well, either way, we're gonna run a buffer over all of these and make them mint, and whatever we don't use, it's going on eBay. But first, this car desperately needs a wash, and it's a beautiful day. So I think later this afternoon, once the sun goes down a little bit, we'll get this thing outside, give it its first wash, and then we'll dive into whatever's next. Well, one mini montage later and the car has not moved. Still dirty. Haven't washed it. Also, been a couple days. It was Saturday. It was a beautiful Saturday morning, and I was like, oh, after I finish this quick garage project, which I should have known better, garage projects are never quick, I'll get to washing the Trans Am. But also, all the cars are uncovered. A lot of Chevys in here. I swear I don't have any brand loyalty. Anyways, this support post back here rotted out earlier this winter because the previous owner of the house didn't have a gutter on the garage, which I installed last year. So I had a buddy fabricate these for me, and I ended up replacing both of them because I figured that one wasn't far behind. So that was a lot of drilling, cutting, grinding, getting the old ones out, cleaning up, getting anchors in, stuff like that. It ended up taking the whole day. So that was Saturday. Then Sunday, yesterday was like, it's back to winter around here. It hailed and snowed and sleeted today. Yesterday was no better. So I decided to work on some taillights with some success and some failures, as you guys just saw. Starting off right here, look at this. I made a little jig for polishing taillights or buffing taillights because obviously difficult to do, not on the car. This is a piece of engineered hardwood from my first floor that I drilled some holes in, and now the mounting tabs go right through it. Good to go. Don't tell my wife. But yeah, replaced the driver's side taillight on the car with, this is one of the ones that I bought locally. This thing is mint, so it just needs a quick buff, which we'll do when we do the rest of the car. So that's done. That taillight is here. Next time I have the spray gun out, we'll re-clear this and see how it looks. Maybe we'll have another good driver's side taillight. Also, as the little montage showed there, smoothed the center section out, wet sanded, polished to a mirror finish, and then put some new decals on here from a viewer of the channel, Gunner Graphics. So I ordered some decals for the car, which we'll get into a little later, and he responded to my purchase and said, I'm gonna send you basically everything I got for this car. So super nice of him. Shout out to Gunner Graphics. Look at this one. This is like a replica of the original Ram Air sticker. This will go on the intake lid. I might have to see if that works with my SLP lid. I'm not sure. Ram Air hood decals. This is what I ordered. The Pontiac inlays for the rear bumper there. I think this is for the fuel door. Yeah. So we'll see how good mine is once I clean it up. You guys tore me apart for not cleaning it in the last video. I'm gonna get there, all right? I just want to wash the whole car first. So anyways, he also sent me these decals, and I'm glad he did because I think it looks good with freshly polished, brand new Trans Am and Phoenix decals. And apparently someone else did too, because I put this on eBay last night and it sold immediately for 150 bucks. So I thought about putting it on this car, but the original one on this car is still in really nice shape, so I'm not going to touch that one. We'll just give it a quick buff. But this is going to be able to restore someone else's car down the road here. Same thing with this taillight. Put it in my little jig there, gave it a cut and polish, and this thing is as perfect as they come. Threw this up on eBay last night, already sold today, 450 bucks. So we've already, just in these two, pretty much made our money back in all of our taillight shenanigans here. When I saw that happen, I was like, oh, let me figure out what's going on with this dark taillight, which it turns out after a little bit of research online, and you guys saw the water pouring out of the seal here, what happens is the seal on these things fails, and as you guys saw in the B-roll footage, the reflector inside becomes black, and therefore the taillight looks darker. So what you can do, if you're not like me, is you take your time and you're careful and you heat and separate the lens from the housing. You can take some, chrome spray paint, this was $6, and refinish the inside of this thing, and it will look like brand new. Unfortunately, I was rushing, didn't use enough heat and not enough patience, and I cracked this lens. And then just because I knew it was already junk, really ripped it off there. So now we have, instead of $400 or so, we have a piece of garage art. So hopefully you guys can learn from my mistake and do this yourself and fix your taillights, because look at this. Look at how bright this thing is now. I'll put up a before of how dark this thing was. If we had not cracked this lens and quickly glued this back together, we would have, and here's it, side by side with this one, it almost looks even brighter. We would have had a mint taillight. So it is possible. Take your time, don't rush like I was. And you can fix your taillights if they ended up being dark like this one was. But now we got a cool piece of garage art, which we can find a place next to the 4th gen Camaro taillight that I also destroyed when I tried to fix like a little bubbling issue. I ended up blowing a hole right through it. So got all sorts of 4th gen F-body taillight garage art. But now let's get to what we're supposed to be doing, which is washing this car for the first time under my ownership and getting it ready for paint correction, which is probably going to be tomorrow because it's dark and cold outside. So catch you guys then. Really thought it was going to be warmer today. Cloudy, 45, windy. It's gonna have to do. Let's get to work. I can't feel my hands. This wind is killer. Paint's not supposed to sound like that. Let's fix it. I know it looks pretty decent on camera.
I can assure you it's not.
So it's actually a couple days later. Decided to focus on the C8 Z06 for a little bit. Did some exhaust mods on that thing. If you haven't seen that video, check it out here if you're into Corvette stuff at all. Anyways, got this thing washed up the other day. It was like 40 degrees and super windy, and the water coming out of the ground was like 30 degrees. I guess it has to be above 33 degrees. But anyways, it was cold. Could not feel my hands when I was done, but gave this thing its first bath under my ownership. It already looks incredible, but the paint definitely needs a buff. I mean, just right here, we can almost see a color difference between the hood and the fender, and just tons of swirls, watermarks, scratches, hard water staining, sap probably. But after I washed it, got it all dried, I did clay bar the whole car. I was going to use my clay mitt, but I think that the clay bar does a better job, A, and B, it was just way too cold outside. So did it the old-fashioned way with some clay, and this thing is butter smooth now. You hear that? Yeah, me either. Before it was like, this is one of the worst cars as far as clay barring I've ever done. Usually it's the worst on the hood, and then usually the fenders and, you know, the doors and stuff are okay, but the doors were nasty, the quarters were nasty, the rear bumper was awful. Still, maybe could even use another quick pass, but it is a ton better than it was, much smoother. Came through and touched up for at least a first round of some of the chips that were back here, and that chip that we PDR'd. So I think I'm going to come through, do one more coat of touch up, and then we'll clear over that. Then we'll wet sand, and then we'll buff. Also got all of our weather stripping and stuff that we don't want to get compound all over taped off with some painter's tape. So we're basically ready to buff. But if you guys know me, you know this channel, we're not doing it in the lift bay. There's just no room. I already have the car pulled way forward just so I could get, you know, as much of it as I could, you know, without the lift posts being in the way. But because the Corvette's out and running again, I think I'm gonna shuffle some cars. I'm gonna put this thing here. We're gonna put it at an angle. And I think just like we did with the Mach 1 project a few months ago, I'll pull the Camaro out, angle it that way. The Corvette will be over here, and that should give us plenty of room to get around all the sides. We'll get it up on the quick jacks, because there's nothing worse than trying to buff, you know, down here on a super low car. It's nice to get it up in the air, right at hand level, and just go to town on this paint. But we got a little shuffling to do, a little quick jack work to do, a little cleanup to do from the Z06 project. So I'm gonna quit talking. Let's shuffle some cars. Let's start buffing this paint. What do you say? car is up in the air. If you guys have been on the channel before, we're using all of the same stuff I always use. My reliable Flex DA Menzerna cutting compound. I think with this GM paint is notoriously, or GM clear is notoriously hard, and there's a lot of defects in here, so we're gonna go right to the microfiber pad here. This one is Meguiar's, but anyone would work. I've got a couple different varieties up there. I always like to start on the flat surfaces, so the roof or the spoiler or deck lid or the hood. I'm gonna start on the deck lid here. You guys know we're gonna do a 50-50. Everybody loves a good 50-50. Let's see what kind of transformation we get here. But yeah, start with, I'm gonna guess we're gonna get most of our defects out with the wool pad and the heavy cut compound. Then we'll go to the orange pad with the finishing compound, and then I think I have enough G-Technic Crystal Serum Ultra to ceramic coat the entire car, but that is going to be many, many hours from now. So let's do a 50-50 here on the deck lid. Make sure we're happy with the results, and then maybe do a quick spot up on the hood, same thing. And yeah. Many hours of listening to this buffer run, so let's get after it. What'd I tell you? Just about one pass, pretty much defect free, without going absolutely nuts. If we wanted to get this 100%, we'd have to probably do a couple passes, maybe even a little wet sanding, but I really can't even see any defects. Just your factory standard 90s, early 2000s GM orange peel. No big deal. I'm having a heck of a time. Actually, that's not bad right there. Of course, as soon as I say it, we're mint. I couldn't show, it's really hard with red to show these defects and scratches, but that shows your 50-50 right there if you catch it right in the right light. But it's really hard to get this, yeah, I try and focus better and it gets worse. But yeah, you guys saw it. So there's your 50-50. Let's do a spot on the hood, make sure we're good to go. Well, that was short-lived. And the reason that it's short-lived is because we have got major problems. And I'm psyched about it. Over the moon. Could not be happier right now. So, came up here to the hood, and I'm really hoping that the camera picks this up because red is really playing tricks on the old Galaxy S24 right now. But as I've mentioned in previous videos, I think that this whole car has been repainted at one point or another. And they did a great job. I mean, the car is super straight, super clean. I mean, I haven't even touched any of this paint yet. It's full of swirls, and it still looks great. But the hood, if we rewind to the previous video, I was basically saying that it almost seemed like these two panels didn't match. You know, we didn't paint either of these, and the hood looks lighter in this, but I think that's just because it's filthy, and it really needs a buff. And I thought that it was just because of, like, oxidation and, you know, swirls and stuff like that. But I just did this area right here, as you guys saw in the time lapse, buffed off the cutting compound, and I was like, what the heck is that? So hopefully you guys can see that. You see that, like, lighter area right there? Man, it's really, I hope that this shows up better on your TV or your computer or whatever, but it's like, if you catch the edge, see if I can get it. It's almost like sanding marks, but it's under the clear coat. It really looks like it's under the clear coat. You see that? What the heck is that? I've buffed it multiple. Then I was like, okay, maybe let's not panic. everybody calm down. I was like, let me just buff it with some polish, because maybe it's just some hazing left behind from the cutting compound. And no, it's still there. This surface is now super, flat and straight. And whatever this is appears to be some sort of previous bodywork. And maybe I just didn't notice it because the car was dirty and, hazed up. But quickly did this section here, and I don't see any. It seems to be clean over here. But we have a big problem over here. I don't know if this can be fixed. I think that this needs to be repainted now, which is a huge bummer because, well, now I'm also looking at it, and I also said this in the last video. The front bumper doesn't really match the fender, and I just paid $600 to have this painted. And it's not really the painter's fault either, because, I brought him a bumper with this is why you blend panels, so that this doesn't happen. Especially with a 20-something-year-old car that's been painted once already. You're asking for trouble. I should have known better, but this is why you blend panels. This is why you use those cameras that can determine what paint coat or what, how to mix the paint to get it to match. If you just bring a painter like I did, a paint coat, and say, this was the paint that my car left the factory with 22 years ago. Again, that's my bad. Where I'm going with all this is now I'm wondering if I basically need to paint this entire front end, which totally sucks. I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about it. If the hood was good, I probably would have just repainted the edges of the bumper, blended it in myself, and it would have looked great. But now that the hood needs paint, then you got these headlight buckets that need to match, and it's just the whole thing. So I think right now it's already pretty late right now. I'm just gonna start buffing. I might as well buff the rest of the car other than the front. See if there's any other issues we need to take care of. And I don't think there is, but see if I can come up with a plan. I don't know if I'm gonna pawn this off to a body shop or see if I can do it myself or what we're gonna do. But that is a huge bummer, huge blow to the project is having to repaint stuff when I thought we were done. This is real though. This is me in the garage realizing that I'm gonna have to spend a bunch more money to make this thing right, but this car deserves it. It's a 63,000 mile, beautiful red 6-speed WS6. I'm not quitting because of some paint. It's gonna look right. So let me just put my headphones in, buff a little bit, think about how much I hate this, and catch you guys tomorrow probably. Well, 80% of the car looks great. It is the next evening. Spent many hours last night and today, this afternoon, doing the complete cutting process on the car. So microfiber pad, cutting compound. Just as expected, the car looks incredible. Very few flaws in this paint. There's a couple areas I still need to do, like up here. I'm waiting for my Rupes Hybrid Nano, the mini polisher I had. I broke the gears in the head on that thing. They're actually kind of fragile. I wish it was a little bit more durable, but that should be back to me this week, and then we can do some of these harder to reach areas, like up in here where the big dog won't fit. But yeah, everything has been cut. Probably won't even pick up on camera. There's just a little bit of hazing that the polishing step needs to take out. Finished touching up this area. I think I still am gonna add a tiny little bit of clear. Man, it's even hard to pick. It's really hard to pick up on camera. Red is super tough, but there's a tiny little low spot right there that I'm gonna add a little bit more clear to. Then we'll wet sand it a little bit more, and then that it's never gonna be perfect, obviously, but man, is it a lot better than it used to be. That like dent / completely missing paint area. When you step 2 feet away, it completely disappears, which is awesome. So happy with that. The rest of this panel's mint. Doors super nice. This fender is super nice. And then we get up to, whatever's going on up here. I buffed this whole area. So where these 4 panels come together, and it seems like the only things that match here are these 2. I don't know if this is gonna show up on camera, but the hood is definitely lighter than this fender. And then same thing over here, obviously, and then, not even taking into account whatever defect is going on there. The hood is just like, it's almost like more of a salmon color. So we've got salmon, bright red, appears to be bright red, and then whatever orangish, maroonish red we got going on down there. There's something going on, and it's bad. We have to figure out what's going on here. No, but as I discussed last night, I gambled and I lost. I really should have brought the painter a whole panel or gone to one of those shops that... Actually, this camera angle is pretty good. You see how the hood is just lighter than this fender right here? Who would have thought this would be the best angle for that? But now you guys can see. That's my bad, I think. I don't have any confidence that the painter mixed the paint wrong or anything, or I definitely can't prove it, but this is why you blend stuff. This is why those cameras exist, because of stuff like this. And red is tough. Red is definitely tough. But the rest of the car looks good. I'm gonna come up with a plan for this. Right now, I'm leaning towards respraying the bumper and respraying the hood, and bringing, if I can find one, bringing one of the fenders to a shop that can scan it and mix the paint up. Then we'll maybe do a spray out, make sure that it matches perfectly, and then respray these 2, maybe even the headlight lids if we have to. I guess I could bring just one of the headlight lids, but that's option number 1. Do it myself. Get one of those inflatable paint booths that I've been wanting for a while anyways, to do smaller parts that I always seem to be doing. I think we can make this thing look pretty mint. Option number 2 is drop this thing off at a body shop and just say, look at all these colors we got going on here, make it right. Probably costs a ton of money, and body shops typically are way backed up. You might not see it for months. So I'm leaning towards option number 1. If you guys have any better ideas, let me know. But at least the rest of the paint looks great. And to distract myself from what's going on, got more mods. For $6, I got some decals for the center caps to kind of mimic what the factory ones. These are what the factory ones would have looked like. These are what the 98 to 2000 WS6 center caps would have looked like. So I got both of them just because they were cheap. Maybe we toss 1 or 2 of those on there just to see what it looks like. Peeled off the Pontiac. These are like super old. I don't know if they're supposed to be carbon fiber way back in the day, but they are just brittle, done. So now I got the new Pontiac sticker there. Got a new WS6 badge. It's not identical to the factory one, but you can see the factory one had, I don't know, it just had like staining and stuff on it. So got this brand new one to go on there. And then if you guys recall, this side that has been repainted, at the very least, has this gloss black Trans Am door badge. I really like that. This one has the factory red with like black vinyl decals. I like the all black, so I got a brand new black Trans Am badge for that side. So a whole bunch of new badges, but what I'm most excited about is right here, the white cue ball Hurst shift knob that I absolutely love, same one I have in the 69, and a Hurst Billet Plus shifter. Of course, I got this stuff from Holley Performance. These guys have been so helpful in this build, and I said, I need to get rid of this ugly C6 shifter thing we got going on in here that with a 17-mile long knob there. See if we can shorten this down a little bit. This might be a short shifter in there, but the C6 knob, in my opinion, does not belong in there. Oh yeah, and a bunch of you commented on this pedal pad. The clutch one, super worn out. Basically got a completely smooth spot there. Found this one online. I believe it's a Dorman part. $7 on HomeDepot.com, shipped to my door. And maybe this is why it came in a box that looks like it sat on a parts store shelf for 17 years. Talk about brittle, but brand new pedal pad, $7, we'll take that. So let's focus on these two mods right now, get them installed. So we had a B&M shifter in there. Honestly felt okay. I just looked real goofy. The Hurst though, bam. The white cue ball, which is slightly larger than this one, is a different thread, so I guess I need an adapter, so we'll get that on order. What do you guys think? Do you prefer the black cue ball or the white cue ball? I usually am a fan of the white. That's what I run in the 69, but honestly the black doesn't look half bad either. Other opinion, do you run the shifter boot down low and show off the Hurst lettering there? Or do you run it way up like that for more of a factory look? Usually I like to run it up like that, but kind of digging the old school, you know, polished showing out like that. Feels great. Cannot wait to bang gears with this thing. Huge improvement. Easy install, ready to roll. Clutch pedal too. Good to go. I'll clean up the ABS pedal. These will match perfectly. Much better. Well, this is the part in the video where I was hoping to reveal to you guys a perfect 2001 bright red Trans Am. Unfortunately, that is obviously not the case. We've got some paint issue that I've never seen before on the hood. A front bumper that doesn't match, which is really a bummer because I just paid good money to get it painted. Again, I'm gonna put that on me. I probably should have known better. There's a reason why you do blending, and you know, especially a car that's been painted with an unknown history. I took a gamble and I lost on this one. But overall, the car buffed out really nice. The rest of the car is pretty much absolutely beautiful, especially for being 22 years old. I'm gonna save the polishing and ceramic coating step, obviously, for once we get this all sorted out, and then this whole thing is gonna look incredible. So I gotta make a decision on what I'm gonna do as far as this stuff here. It seems like a big bummer right now, but in the grand scheme of things, you know, it is what it is. And this is real life, you guys. This is me telling you that, you know, I messed up or that something's messed up. I'm not gonna edit this out, or the car is gonna disappear for 4 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever and then be perfect and I'm gonna pretend like it never happened. This is me spending money to make this thing right because I think it deserves it. So, but we fixed the taillight, broke a taillight, hopefully make some money back on eBay. We installed some mods. We got the rest of the paint looking really good. Gave the car its first wash, clay bar. It feels incredible. I think with a little bit more work, we're really gonna make this thing shine. So that's gonna do it for this one. I gotta go figure out what I'm doing. Catch you guys in the next one.